I was those Trump videos are really good, but I wanted to see the we a little while ago we did I think it was iPhone, no, so it was Samsung users switched to an iPhone, and we got their thoughts on that. Was it iPhone switched to thingy? Hang on, let me double check. Let me find out. Yeah, so we went from Android to iPhone, and I wanted to see what it's like from iPhone to Android. So I found this video, which I will put on, and we shall check it out.
So I've been using the iPhone 15 Pro Max since its release, right? It works seamlessly with my iPad Pro. It works seamlessly with my MacBook Pro, which I use for absolutely everything here on the channel and my clinical work as a therapist. And it works with 90% of my family and friend group who also have iPhones and are part of Team Blue Bubble.
Good morning, my love.
Massively
I hope you had a safe drive to work in this rainy weather today. I hope you slept well, absorbed many REM cycles. I love you, and may you make it a fantastic
Many REM cycles.
Mwah. Bye.
You need about 5 or 6 REM cycles.
But frankly, I can't help but feel that every single time I pick up the iPhone 15 Pro Max, there are concessions that I'm making consciously that when I'm picking up, say, my Galaxy S24 Ultra, I flat out just don't have to make. And I don't know about you guys.
Interesting, because I saw somebody else talking about this, and they said the exact same thing, that now more than ever with the iPhones, they're feeling like there's big chunks missing and having to accept a lot more than they would normally have to do than they would do with Android. So that's interesting. This guy said pretty much the exact same thing.
But I've reached a point in my life where I'm tired of making concessions just to use a phone as my daily driver. And don't get me wrong, right? I mean, the iPhone 15 Pro Max is a spectacular piece of tech that's a lot stronger than a lot of people are going to need it to be on like a day-to-day basis. But realistically, and if I'm being completely honest with you guys, there's a lot of hamstringing going on that I just don't experience with the S24 Ultra. So in this video, I'm going to break down for you guys, even though I'm largely in the Apple ecosystem, why the S24 Ultra is flat out just the right choice for me on a day-to-day basis and why it might be the right choice for you. If you guys are new here, my name is
Is it S23 or just S24?
Now, for the sake of keeping things balanced, really quickly, I'm going to list off the things that, in my personal experience, I've found the iPhone 15 Pro Max to be really good at and beneficial at on a day-to-day basis. For starters, the battery life lasts you all day, which it does over here as well on the S24 Ultra. You're getting like 8+ hours worth of screen on time out of both. When it comes to gaming on both of these.
See, that's the problem. You have no idea which phone he's on about. He could be on about any phone. They all now look the same, and they've all looked like this for, what, the last 3-4 years? Maybe longer. They all look the same bloody thing. So you can't tell. I could go out and get an S21 Ultra, and if I didn't show you the boot up screen, I could say it's an S24, and you wouldn't have a clue. You'd have no idea.
You can run the maximum graphical fidelity settings on absolutely everything at maximum frame rates. With the exception, in some games you can hit 120 frames per second, which you can't on the 24 Ultra, but if I'm being honest, this phone still gets warmer than the S24 Ultra in a lot of different ways. And especially if you're gaming, even if you're gaming at 60 FPS on both of these, the iPhone 15 Pro Max gets warmer faster, gets hotter faster. And I think the 120 frames per second on your phone, although it's cool to have,
you can't tell 120 frames.
Unnecessary. Yeah. I think 60 FPS on both of these maximum everything is great. Phone call quality, a lot of people ask about that. Yes, it's excellent. It's excellent over here too. We're at a point where like phone call quality.
iPhone users like iPhones because they want to be controlled. I know that you have to. They can only do what iPhone want you to do with their phones, and you can't do anything outside of that. So I suppose there is an element of control in there. Yeah, I can see your point on that one.
Quality is not a problem on any device, but it is good there. In terms of speakers, I would definitely give the speaker edge to the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Apple always does a great job with their speakers in their devices. It's just a bit louder, is a bit bassier, and has a little bit of better sound quality, especially like in the high ranges. The S24 Ultra in a vacuum, honestly, is really good if you're not comparing them side by side. This sounds really great as well. And at that point, I think that's where I can pretty confidently and safely say that's sort of where the comparisons and the better offerings over here kind of stop. I always like knowing where you guys stand as a viewer, right? Like where your mindset is in terms of which phones you're looking for. So
I'm
let me know in the
Android.
comment section if you're coming from an
Pro
iPhone
Android.
with the hashtag Apple emoji, or if you're coming from a previous Galaxy device or looking to make the transition to a Galaxy device.
I think
know it's
ours
that,
will
like,
be.
hashtag like that crystal ball Galaxy emoji, because ultimately this is for you guys, and so that additional information does help me a lot and helps keep me informed.
And I know a lot more people. I'd say 95% of the people I know, 90% of the people I know are Android. Very, very few people on Apple that I know of.
But for starters, outside of this YouTube thing, my day job is that of a clinical therapist, and so working with different families and clientele on a day-to-day basis and needing to record the things that are discussed in session, the different interventions that we've attempted, what their diagnosis might be, what their history is, right? And on the Galaxy S24 Ultra,
Why was I pulling a face? I just thought it was weird that he was using a big monitor and his laptop was like this, and he was trying to type on it there underneath the lid. I just thought it was a bit of an odd way of doing it, that's all. That's why I was pulling a face. Sorry.
you have the S Pen for starters, which I've used a lot of times. Immediately after a session, open up phone as a notepad and jot down a couple of notes for myself for reference for later, for when there are specific important key portions of the session that I don't want to forget. And then you have the inclusion of Galaxy AI, for example, which I've shown.
I'll be honest, for me the S Pen is a gimmick. I don't really use it, but for photography, because you can use it as a controller for your camera for photography, that is really good, and for video. So there is a lot of things I will use it for, but in day-to-day general stuff I don't really use the S Pen.
Shown off in my previous Galaxy S24 Ultra review videos, where I'm able to speak to the phone and it's able to contextually break down the specific bullet points and key phrases and pieces of information. That's something that I can't do on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and not everybody's going to need that, but for me on a day-to-day basis and having phone and using as a life companion, that's something that is tremendously valuable, and it's something that I appreciate every single time that I use it. Or having the Galaxy AI flexibility of being able to say, point my camera at something, know exactly where something came from, or have something on my screen, circle it, and have the phone give me contextual information of what the thing is, where I can find out more information about that particular thing. There are just so many applications, especially with the Galaxy AI, that are very impactful on a day.
Just so you know, guys, if you have got a Samsung S23 Ultra or the S24, to do that, all you need to do, let me bring up this. All you need to do is press and hold down your little square button. It comes up, you can highlight what you want, and then you can do the search. So I've only found out in the last few days. It's a pretty handy tool though.
Day-to-day basis. I mentioned, right, using the S Pen earlier to write. If my handwriting is like slanted or tilted, it will auto adjust and correct an approximation of like what my handwriting should look like in a more aligned way. Those kinds of things add immense quality of life to your day-to-day, and for me personally, when I'm looking at a phone, I'm looking for something that's on my hip every.
However, is that the AI is that just a standard function of the new S24 Ultra? Or is it the AI aspect of the S24 Ultra? Because in 2025 that's been removed. You have to pay for it from there onwards. Just something to take into consideration.
Single day as a life companion, and this checks off so many boxes in so many ways. Which actually, at the time of recording this, it is March 28th, and so the Galaxy Fold 5, S23 Ultra, and 23 series are going to be getting a rollout update to give them Galaxy AI also. And so then there's also that part of it also, where the ecosystem as a whole is more conducive to day-to-day life happenings, but more on that later. And then you have the multitasking. Multitasking is something that I use all of the time on every single Android device that I use, be it the Pixels or my Galaxy Fold 5.
I must admit, I am getting quite drawn to the Google Pixel 9 Pro Fold. That it's about 4.5mm thick per side, so the whole thing is 9mm thick, which is the same thickness as an iPhone and S24 Ultra. It's got a good width as well. It just seems a bit too tall, but I am starting to look at the Google phones and going, you know what, the folds they have look very nice, and I'm getting very tempted.
Plus open, and most certainly here on the S24 Ultra. I don't see a reason
you don't
in
like
2024 why you have a phone with this size.
Not much of a seam on the Google ones though, that's the thing.
Utilize it to multitask in a number of different ways. And again, objectively, is multitasking something that everyone's going to be using all of the time? No, but...
Yeah, you're disappointed the seam's not gone. I'll be honest, now we're on the 6th generation of foldable phone. I would have expected that crease, that seam, to have now gone, just completely finished and gone. And the fact it still hasn't, it has diminished by about 50%, I think, something around there. But the fact it has not gone and it's still present, as always, is getting a bit frustrating because they're asking for nearly double the price. And I'm not seeing any big leaps in refinement to the device that I would expect by a 6th generation device. Like I said, the Google Pixel Pro Fold, oh, lovely, really good size handset, really good battery life, and the Fold is almost invisible. And I don't know why Google can get it right, but Samsung, who started it, is getting it wrong. Xiaomi also have managed to do it without almost any increase and thinner. So I don't understand why Samsung still has most probably one of the thicker foldable phones, still a very visible crease, where there's smaller companies out there doing better with thinner phones and less, almost non-existent creases. You know, I'd expect Samsung now to be down to a thickness of at least 4 millimeters in thickness per side and 0 crease as a standard.
I think the point is that there are going to be times when that would be nice to have, and your phone is more than capable of doing it. There's no reason that you shouldn't be able to at least attempt it when you want to. And of course, in terms of the cameras, the iPhone 15 Pro Max most certainly has bright spots there as well. I have a few dedicated video reviews breaking down the cameras and directly comparing the phone to other devices. I'll have those linked right up here for you guys if you want to watch that after this video. The iPhone 15 Pro...
iPhone is all enhanced. Yeah, so iPhone, basically, the iPhone cameras are not as powerful as the Samsung cameras, but the iPhone has a lot more advanced finishing off editing software to a photo to make it look amazing compared to the Samsung. I bet if Samsung had as much or did as much editing like the iPhone did to their photos, it would be a world apart. They'd be the best photos in the world.
Does capture excellent pictures when you're really just trying to like point and shoot, but even then you are still not getting the zoom capabilities that you're getting over here on the S24 Ultra, and for that matter even like the S23 Ultra.
Oh,
again, is everybody going to need that? No, but it's nice having that as an option. There's a lot of practical use applications, and I don't think that's necessarily a deal breaker when I talk about accentuating one's lifestyle, but it's definitely something to mention. And you have things like Samsung DeX, which literally turn your phone into a desktop as long as you have a monitor. That's something that I personally do not use all of the time, if I'm being completely honest and transparent, because I do have my MacBook Pro, which I use for basically everything, again, both YouTube and my clinical work. But having the availability and the option of being able to bring, say, a portable monitor with you on a flight, or if you're going to, like, say, a library or something and want a portable desktop setup and
yeah, Samsung DeX, really good. If I went to a friend's house or went to family for Christmas and they had their PC there, and like, could I just plug my phone in and I could use DeX on their computer? Yeah, that's great. Absolutely brilliant. If I was going on holiday and it got to the point where I had to bring a monitor with me, even if it's a super thin flat one, I'd be like, well, I may as well just bring a really thin laptop because I'm bringing the majority of it anyway. So
flat out, that's just not something that you have here on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. But it's been nice having times when I'm able to just have like sort of a portable setup. And even though I don't use it all the time, the optionality being available to you is amazing. I'd almost say priceless, but it's amazing. Also, if you guys are enjoying the video, I have a goal for the end of this year to hit 50,000 subscribers to work towards being a full-time.
Yeah, guys, we're on the way to 1,000.
I love doing this.
Massively appreciate
you.
if you
Video, I
subscribe.
want to see more. Hitting the subscribe button is the best way to stay up to date.
And thank you to everyone who has subscribed.
back to your video.
Really
I can
appreciate
see
it.
why you would go for an iPhone. It's a lot more simplistic, and it kind of just does the things that you would use a phone for. But I would argue, for the amount that you're paying for phones like this, it should be able to do more. And don't get me wrong, AirDrop is really great when I'm transferring photos and files.
But Apple don't want you to do more. Apple only want you to do what Apple feel you should be able to do and be happy with.
And things like that to
And that's what I
my
find
iPad
frustrating
or
about
my
Apple.
MacBook.
It's
But
got
for
the
me,
power.
that's kind of where the quality of life feature stops with the iPhone. There are things it does well, but when I'm looking for something to accentuate my lifestyle in a number of different ways, this just always has an answer, and it always has a solution for the most part. But that's just...
So, yeah, I mean, obviously, he's got some very good points. He's mentioned some really good aspects on there, and I happen to agree with a lot of things. I think when we get to 2025, and we get the next Samsung S25 Ultra come out, it'll be interesting to firstly see what they're going to do in regards to the AI, because they've said that the AI will no longer be a standard feature on the S24 Ultra unless you pay for a subscription fee for the AI service. So when the S25 comes out, then I would be very shocked if you get AI with the S25 Ultra, just on the fact and the grounds of, if you're now making everyone with S24 pay for the AI when they're not even fully through their contract, you can't then just give AI free to the S25, because that's not fair, and the people who just bought the S24 now have to pay for the subscription service. Although, if they did give any S25 Ultra model 6 months free AI access, it may incentivize people to upgrade. We'll see what happens. It should be very interesting year 2025 for Samsung. The new phone, is it going to look exactly the same? It wouldn't surprise me. They got lazy. They're not innovating anymore with design. They all look the same. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with the cameras. I know the cameras are getting a big upgrade, and that's something I love about phones, the cameras. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next channel, next video. But I'm not ending the stream, guys.